Hello and welcome to a new Power Apps tutorial. Today we're going to explain how we can upload a file to SharePoint using a Canvas app and Power Automate. And to do that, we're going to build a small application based on one of the Dataverse tables and build a workflow that suits our needs. So without any further delay, let's go see how we can make this happen. For us to be able to do this little project, we are going to need the Power Apps Canvas app, a Power Automate flow, and a SharePoint website. The basic idea is we trigger the flow from our app, and the logic behind the flow will set our file into a SharePoint site folder. The setting up of the SharePoint is out of scope of this tutorial. We will only focus on what is necessary to be done on the Power Automate and the Power App Canvas application. With that said, let's start by creating an app and modify the form to be able to attach files. We are going to create an application based on the Dataverse table, Accounts. Okay, now that we have our simple app and edit form, we need to head to the attachment control, and we can do that by doing the following steps. Now you would think that with the attachment it would be simple to retrieve the file so that we can send it to the workflow. But that's not the case. Let's take a look at this step by step. From the attachment we can get a reference link that points to a blob in the Azure infrastructure, but we won't be able to use that on this strategy. As you can see, if we try to use the JSON function to convert the blob to a base64 format so that we can use send and use on our workflow, it won't work and it will just return the same string. To get around this, we need to use an image control and set it to the link of the attachment. This will enable us to retrieve the base64 string that represents the file in the attachment. After passing the value through the JSON function, that will give us our string that we can send over the network. But we're still not ready to trigger the workflow. First, we need to substring the base64 string from the formatted string. We can tackle this issue this way. Because we are using a substring method, let's make sure that we get all the correct information. In our app, we can make sure of that by consulting the variables in the Power Apps variable screen. One other thing that we are going to need is to define the file name. So we are going to set a custom dynamic name based on information from the record. And because we don't have a restriction on the file format when uploading, we are going to pick that format from the string that is returned from the image control. Okay, now we are set to trigger a flow. So let's jump onto the creation of that set Power Automate flow. For that, let's select our button, and then let's go to Action and click on Flow. Now all we need to do is to specify that we wish to create a new flow, and that will transport us to the Power Automate Flow Design tool. We're going to choose to create an instant workflow, specify a name, and specify that the trigger comes from a Power Apps application. Once in the workflow design, in here we already have our trigger defined. What we need to do now is to add an action to create the file in SharePoint. For site address and file path, we're going to specify with our SharePoint values. But for the file name and content, those are going to be dynamic values that are going to be retrieved from the Power Apps trigger. The file name we specify with the value that comes directly from the Power Apps, but the content we need to convert it to base64 to binary, and for that we use an expression. And finally, after we have created the file, we want to send the link back to the application. And we can achieve that by using this specific action that will send the response back to the app. If no mistakes were made, this should be the base for our flow. Let's save. Now on our Power App Canvas app again, let's make sure we pass on what we have done on the button on select and attach the flow that we have created. We need to copy the values, because once we attach the flow to a specific trigger in the screen, it will override anything that we have might written in there. After that, we add what we have copied previously and complete the call to the flow, passing in the necessary values. Okay, this should be sufficient, and we are ready for a quick demo. Let's run our app and upload the document into SharePoint. Something went wrong. Let's take this opportunity to check the monitoring capabilities of Power Automate. Let's start by navigating to our flow in the Power Automate console and see what could have been the error. It was not a successful test. Let's try and figure out why. Can't make much of this error. Let's just try one more time. This time it was a success, but the file came with a different extension from what expected. Let's just give another look into the app to see if we can spot anything. Nothing out of the ordinary was found, so let's just save and restart the app edit. One more try. And we have a success. The file is in the SharePoint folder with the correct extension and file name. And that wraps up our demo. With that, we conclude our proof of concept. Thank you very much for watching, and please join us next time for more Power Apps tutorials. See you soon.